Talk to me nice, talk to me honestly. Look in my eyes, don't let it fall on me. Say you're a good guy, make me believe it. Don't wanna hear it, I wanna see it. See how rewind, when we rewind, feels so nice. We time, you I know how.
Hey y'all, I'm here, and oh, I thought I reset that. That's weird. Hi, it's Monday morning, and I'm a little behind today. I was debating if I was going to do this show tonight or this afternoon because it's that tweener time when I have to take Lady Boomer to work. Still one car, but the truck is going in sometime this week. My engine should be here. It takes them three days or so to get it all in and everything running functionally, and then we'll have two vehicles again, and then I will have my normal morning show like I'm supposed to, or at least how I choose to. Anyway, I'm glad you all showed up. I sort of didn't pay attention to the news this weekend, but I did, and I got all kinds of stuff available, and but there's just the one image that keeps sticking in my head, and I end up using it for a thumbnail today, and I just my audio is a bit low. Is it? Is it? I don't know what that could be. Are you sure are you sure it's my end? Because I haven't changed anything. All my settings look normal. I got that on right. I could see where this might be low. I can turn that up, but that's not that's just my noisemaker. Let's see. See how you hear this.
China is asshole.
That's probably right. Oh, it is. Oh, wow. On my monitor, it's showing low too. That's weird. Hang on. Let's see if I can do something about that. Did I turn these down? Maybe this will help. No? Huh. Anyone else? Audio's fine. Okay, it just varies from person to person. Anyway, all right. Well, we'll figure it out. Try to get it to the perfect and whatnot. You missed the pre-show music. I don't know if did I have the pre-show music on? I thought I did. Anyway, it's Monday. Weekend's over. I had a nice weekend, by the way, and that's that. So. We'll just play the intro because this pre-intro thing doesn't seem to be working. So Johnny, just play the intro, will you?
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way, but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, yours truly, PDawgKnight.
All right, stop the music. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as PDawgKnight on the internet. Welcome back to the PDawgKnight Channel. I'm happy that you are here. I'm happy I made it home from the weekend, and hope you all are having a great morning. So this weekend, I went up to a friend's cabin, and she's a close friend of our family's, and I went and power washed her deck because we're going to stay in her deck over Labor Day weekend. And I got it around a golf, and then I came home, and Lady Boom and I did one of our day trips yesterday to, we went to a place called Lonsdale, Minnesota, and there's really not a whole lot there. I mean, we thought, a lot of the little towns around that area, Northfield and Dundas, and there's another, what's the other one? Faribault are all pretty historic towns. So we thought, well, maybe there's something in Lonsdale too. And there just wasn't. It was kind of a boring town. But there were a couple cool things. There was a church built just outside of town, about a mile outside of the center of town, that was built in like the 1850s. Right? It was before Minnesota was a state. And there was a whole bunch of Norwegian settlers that were settled in that area, and they had a church, and basically the church is out in the middle of nowhere because people were settled in farms all around that area. And it was interesting because the main family that was in the town was all buried in the cemetery, and they had some of them passed before Minnesota was even a state, which is kind of it's cool when you find stuff like that. But that was really the only thing interesting in Lonsdale. So then we went to Faribault, and I probably could make 3 days of history in that town. So anyway, if you're interested in some of the stuff that we do on the weekends, you can go to my other channel, Marty's Big Journey. Actually, I need 5 more subscribers over there just so I can put a custom name on the back of the channel, and it'll make it easier for people to find. But anyway, if you go over to Marty's Big Journey, you'll get to see some of the stuff. I'm going to post another video, hopefully by the end of the day, one of our car show videos. And if you're interested in just random cool stuff, that's the channel to go to. All right, so let's let's get into some of the news today. But before we do that, I'm going to make that tweet. I'm going to say good morning, everybody, because that's what I do on the show. First in the chat today was Mike Savage Blarg, and you get the bell. And thank you for being here. And the same that, you know, we got that kind of 1-2 punch again, so I'm going to give Gunfox a bell too. And because you guys were like, literally, it was beep, beep. And it always seems to happen like that. But anyway, also good morning, Jonathan Peterson, Paul Farrell, Aaron Meredith, Selecta Boy.
Yeah, boy.
Also good morning to Advocatus Diablo, the Devil's Advocate, Attack Alpaca, Chicago Mike, Black Hebrew Israelite.
That's right.
Also good morning, Sean DW, James Barber, Sydney Oberg, good morning. Let's see, LA Prepper is in the house. Nice to see you. The Asian Research Directorate, always alone, or excuse me, always lost in something else. AKA Alone's in the house. Good morning, Green Badger Outdoors. Good morning, Tyler F. And let's see, is that everybody? Jesse Leon, what's going on? And Midnight in XL, is in the house. And I think the gang's all here. Good morning, Jim Beam, Jaded and Emerald, Don Julio, Gulf City Biker, and Trash Man. And I think I said Jonathan Peterson, but I'm going to say it a second time. So, holy smokes. President Pudding is really putting in the just racking up the hits. So over the weekend, this is interesting because I went I saw this thing happen, right? And then this morning on Twitter I look here, and maybe the publications that write about the president are just trying not to draw attention to this, but it seemed to be a big controversy over the weekend. So let me just go first to how this is written in the Hill, and then I'm going to show you an image that makes me wonder, are they ever going to mention the image? Because this is what he's getting criticism about. So let's go to the article first. This is the Hill, an internet publication that usually just copies other people's work. I'm not saying they plagiarize. I'm just saying they tend to copy other people's work. And so Biden mourns service members killed in Kabul bombing at dignified transfer. Now, dignified transfer is a term that they use for bringing the remains of servicemen killed in action, servicemen and women killed in action, back home, right? And so here's the article by Brett Samuels. President Biden on Sunday met in Delaware with the families of U.S. service members who died last week in a suicide bombing in Kabul, Afghanistan, and witnessed the return of service members' remains. The president and the first lady left early Sunday for Dover Air Force Base, where they met with the families and participated in a dignified transfer. The Bidens arrived with Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and other dignitaries taking part in the transfer at the base, according to a reporter traveling with the president from Delaware. Now, that's interesting. What do you mean, according to a reporter? It was on all the networks. I don't know why that they're saying according to. Oh, did they change this just now? Did they just do what I think they just did? Interesting. Oh, okay. I was wondering why that flipped. Anyway, so here we go. Yeah, I don't know. I say according to a reporter traveling with the president in Delaware. The officials walked up a ramp into the C-17 military transport for a prayer, then emerged to take up positions as the transfers began. Now listen carefully. Listen to the verbiage here. The president clasped his right hand to his chest when the order to present arms came with each transfer case. Oh, well, it's outstanding. I'm going to stop just for a second. Thank you, Paul Farrell, with the the 2669 and no message. If you want to do a message, just put it in the chat. Don't put another donation. But Paul Farrell,
You are the new Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day.
thank you so much. Very generous donation, and that's one of my favorite notifications. By the way, I probably shouldn't say that kind of shit. Anyway, so listen to this. Thank you very much, Paul. That's very generous of you, and I appreciate it. The president clasped his right hands to his chest when the order to present arms came with each transfer case. The reported, this is bad writing. I think they meant the reporter noted, while military officers saluted. Now, listen to this sentence. President Biden's eyes were reportedly locked on the cases as they were carried to the transfer vehicles, occasionally bowing his head and appearing to close his eyes. Remember that line. 13 U.S. service members and a dozen Afghans died last Thursday in a bombing near the airport in Kabul, where U.S. forces were working to evacuate thousands of U.S. citizens and Afghan citizens ahead of Tuesday's full withdrawal of American troops from the country. The Pentagon on Saturday released the names and so on and so forth. Okay? Now, it's very okay. And then they talked about what Biden, let's see, what did Biden say? Biden lauded the service members who lost their lives as heroes, noting they were working to get others to safety when they died. Quote, they were part of the bravest, most capable, and most selfless military on the face of the earth, and they were part of simply what I call the backbone of America. They're the spine of America, the best the country has to offer. Biden said it Thursday. Okay, let's go to this. Now, okay, we're going to get to that, Avocados Diabli, and that is a good devil's advocate thing to say. President clasped his right hand to his chest. Now, so there's obviously that you were talking about the video of the president checking his watch, okay? And so I'm just going to see if I'm sure I can find it on Twitter here, because I'm sure if you just put in the words checking his watch, you'll find it. So here's the video, and I'm we're going to decide if he's checking his watch or if he's doing something else. Okay, that's what we're going to decide here. So here now, this is what he got criticism for. So here is how did the Hill describe it? I'll go back to it in a minute. But obviously no mention of this moment. So here we go.
Nicole G., who was one of the 2 female Marines who were killed among the 13. She was the one who posted that Instagram post holding the baby, saying,
okay,
I love my job, just a few days ago.
Notice how quick that went. So, and I saw this picture. Quite a few times. And he looked at his watch because he was told there was pudding after the service. Oh my goodness. Anyway, hello, K-Show. Now I'm going to watch again, because what Avocados Diabli says here, watching that video almost seemed to me like when he moved his cuff, got caught on his watch, and he looked at it as if he was trying to straighten it out. But he looked at a watch. So here it is again. And look how quickly this goes. I don't know that he was checking his watch.
Marines who were killed among the 13. She was the one who posted that Instagram post.
Well, I'm looking at it again.
One of the 2 female Marines who were killed among the 13. She was the one who posted that Instagram.
I think he went to check his watch and immediately knew the optics of that and put it away right away. Okay? Because obviously, if you take a split-second photo, now I'll show you the split-second photo too. There are split-second photos, and it's actually the one I used in my thumbnail. Okay. Let's see if we can show it here. This is that moment. Now, what's weird about this though, this doesn't even look like the same scene. I'll show it to you here. This doesn't even look like the same scene because look how far his hand's up. Did he do it twice? Anybody know? Does anybody know? So, but let's see. A guy I know kept taunting me. What are you afraid of? Dead Americans on foreign shores and a president that doesn't give a fuck about covers it. I think he realized as soon as he started to lift his arm what the optics of that would be, and unfortunately he didn't put it down in time. I'm struggling whether or not to give him a pass on this one, considering he has so many other issues that's going on. In particular, my big question is still, who are they? I'm still trying to figure out who are they. Now, someone sent me a video about the they. Do you remember when I was talking about they last week? Because we're keep talking about when Biden comes to podiums and he's going to give a speech, or if he's going to take questions, which is rare from the press. He keeps making this statement of, well, they told me that I have a list of people that they told me I'm supposed to call on. And I've been asking, who are they, right? And so I wanted to, the person who sent me this video sent me a really good video, and I'm going to, where the hell is it? Is it my mentions? I just saw it the other, where's the they? Someone showed me where the they was. Oh, here we go. Jaded Emerald sent me this. And so we're gonna take a quick peek at this. And I'll pause this second. It's 4:19, I think. Let me find the spot here. Because I want to show you something that if y'all might remember this is interesting. And this is from I don't know. This is one of the, what do they call those guys? The gamer guys. Geeks and Gamers. This is one of the Geeks and Gamers guys did a video on this. And I wanted to show you this particular section. Because remember, I'm always asking who they are. And so here's this part of this possibly what the they is. Because you'll remember this. Hello, Balin Bobby. How you doing? Attempted to check his watch, realized how bad it looked. No pass for this twit. Yeah, I think he went to check his watch, and then but and in the middle of a service like this, obviously that is not good optics. Okay. And if they are going to pick apart everything that the former president with the funny hair did, you would think the media would be on that same tip when it comes to this president. But of course, they're not, except for Fox News, obviously, because of a different political affiliation. But anyway, here's a good example of part of who they are, though. If you don't remember this from way back early in the presidency, this is Joe Biden after a 2021 issues conference. Oh, this might have been, was this before the election or was it after the election? Anyway, here's a good example of they.
Who in the world is in charge? Let's just listen to this right here.
And I'm happy to take questions if that's what I'm supposed to do, Nance, whatever you want me to do.
Am I off? No, we don't want him to talk.
Oh, I just love it. Every time I almost forgot about that. Y'all remember that? And notice how Nancy didn't say anything. He said something about possibly taking questions. And play it again.
We go back to, I'm not supposed to take any questions. Remember when he said they gave me a list and you kept wondering who in the world is in charge? Let's just listen to this right here.
And I'm happy to take questions if that's what I'm supposed to do, Nance, whatever you
Look
want
at Nancy's face. She's like, oh, no, we're supposed to cut it off right now. And then she says, when she thinks she's off microphone,
Am I off? No, we don't want him to talk.
Is Nancy Pelosi running the show? And so what was interesting when someone sent me that, I was listening to something that I wish I had bookmarked it, but I didn't. So we're just going to talk about it. Then I also noticed that the other day when Kevin McCarthy was bitching about, what the House was working on during this Afghanistan crisis, right? Which I don't know that the House can do anything other than put out some sort of, unified statement, which they haven't even done. Nancy Pelosi called an emergency session to talk about this, $5 trillion budget nonsense and the vote Democrats in forever voting bill, right? And they took 90 minutes out of that to get briefed on Afghanistan, and without any resolutions or any statement from the House of Representatives. And not that they have to do that, but you would think, if we have 13 Marines die, there'd be some sort of resolution, right? And they didn't do that. And somewhere along the line, Nancy Pelosi was on some show talking about how that this is a great day for Americans and a great day for Democrats as they were passing some bill. And I'm like, well, I don't care if it's a good day for Democrats, right? I want things that are a good day for America. And I don't think their bill that they're passing are good for America, but that's just my opinion. But she's made it a point to say a good day for America and a good day for Democrats, meaning that that's, all she cares about really is if it's a good day for Democrats. And then when I remembered when Joe Biden was talking about the House passing I think it was the voting bill, which is never going to make it to the Senate anyway. In Joe Biden's speech, he used the exact same verbiage. This is a great day for America, and this is a great day for Democrats. Making me wonder, is the Speaker of the House running the show for Democrats? Is she writing the talking points? Who's writing the talking points? And I think it absolutely is Nancy Pelosi. I had a case on Friday that might have been Valerie Jarrett or Obama, some of the other Obama crew, because he has all the Obama, the whole Obama crew is, behind him. In fact, it's the same people in charge that were in charge when Benghazi happened. But shouldn't necessarily talk about that. But there's a Democratic committee that somehow got Joe into office. They somehow got him to bring on Kamala Harris, because remember, before the election, when they were all running, the media and the Democratic, super class, whatever, was all about Kamala Harris, and then she tanked immediately, and then got the hell beaten out of her in the debates. Although she took some shots at Joe that were effective, although they still somehow got Joe in there. But it's so what am I trying to say here? It just everything seems so controlled. It's a common phrase. That's a common phrase. It's a great day for America and a great day for Democrats. Really, do you if it's a great day for America, do you make a partisan spin that it's a great day for Democrats? I don't know. Hello, MC. MC's in the house, by the way.
Stop. Hammer time.
Also, good morning, HP Lovecraft and Balin Bobby and a couple people at Midnight in Exile. I might have already said it's Midnight in Exile, but I gotta say it. Make sure I said it. So anyway, I'm still wondering who's in charge, really? Who's in charge? So anyway, the other thing here I wanted to do, and I'm going to just give you who is this? JJ Sefton's take on what's going on right now in his intro to the morning, his morning report, because it was pretty good this morning. So he starts out, good morning, kids, start of a new week. And at the top, one person is reported dead and 1 million are without power in the wake of Hurricane Ida slamming into southern Louisiana, just southwest of New Orleans late yesterday. Reports of considerable damage and flooding are coming in, which are sure to mount as people return or those who remained report from the area. But in all, given this hurricane's strength and the infamous ineptitude and corruption that turned Katrina into a legendary disaster, things likely could have been a hell of a lot worse. Prayers for all affected, and hopefully the cleanup and clearing and restoration to normalcy can move swiftly. Now, on that note, let's see. Oh, here it is, right here. Here's a report from the New York Post on that, because that is the big news. Well, it's big news if you don't count Afghanistan. It's the most current news. Louisiana authorities on Sunday night reported the first death from Hurricane Ida after a 60-year-old man was fatally injured when he was struck by a fallen tree. The fatality was reported in Ascension Parish, which is northwest of New Orleans, and is at about 8:30 p.m. local time at a home off Highway 621 in Prairieville, authorities said. The Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office had said deputies responded and confirmed the death. Tragically, we have our first death from Hurricane Ida. Earlier Sunday, Ida bashed ashore in the state as a dangerous Category 4 storm, packing winds of up to 150 miles an hour. The storm crawled inland and dropped to a Category 2 storm, thrashing New Orleans as it passed within 30 miles of the city. All of New Orleans lost power in the storm, city officials said. About 97% of nearby Jefferson Parish was without power as a main transmission tower collapsed into the Mississippi River. According to a radio station there, transmission tower went down, according to Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Sheng. And then this is near the Avondale, whatever. Over 1 million customers were without power in 2 southern states impacted by Ida, more than 930,000 in Louisiana, and 28,000 in Mississippi, according to the Power Outage USA, which tracks outages nationwide. So, but obviously it could have been worse. It could have been more direct strike. Pray for the people in Nolens. Good morning, Jade and Emerald, and my favorite Canadian, Yay Capone. Good, nice to have you here. So that's what's happened in New Orleans. Continuing though in the morning report. Meanwhile, the rubbing of salt in the mortal wounds of this nation continues apace because of the high treason committed by stooge President Joe Biden. Now, remember, this is not my editorial comment, although I concur with much of it. Alone or more likely at the behest of one or more individuals pulling his strings from Colorama, aided and abetted by military leadership that, like the politicians that installed them, is completely out of touch with reality, while Biden pulls one finger out of his nose and the other out of his tweener, out of a tweener train. Oh, God. I should have read this first. Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to try to read this with a straight face, just because this is very, let's just say it's very colorful writing. Okay. While Biden pulls one finger out of his nose and the other out of a tweener's training bra strap to point them at fat, feckless frauds like Vanilli Millie, they in turn play the Nuremberg defense in they were only following orders. It would be funny if it weren't both enraging as well as frightening, given the consequences of all of this, that these are the same people who lied to and committed what can be only described as mutiny against President Trump as commander-in-chief concerning troop levels and series. Okay, now here's a question I have. Let me turn this off. Answer me this, ladies and gentlemen. So, we know that, in fact, there were people who lied to the President of the United States about troop levels in Syria. In fact, here's an article. I pulled up an article here. Let me fit it on the screen properly, because this is fascinating. And I have a question after we go through this. Flashback. when the bureaucracy lied to a president about troop levels in a war zone to get a win. In November 2020, once the result of the presidential election was clear, a government official stepped out of the shadows and admitted to lying to President Donald Trump about the true number of troops that were present in Syria. Trump deployed U.S. forces there to crush ISIS, which grew up after the Obama administration hastily withdrew from Iraq. Task and Purpose reported at the time, quote, America's top envoy to the multinational military coalition to defeat ISIS claimed in a recent interview that he routinely lied to senior government officials about U.S. troop levels in Syria. We were always playing shell games to not make clear to our leadership how many troops we had there, outgoing diplomat Jim Jeffrey told Defense One reporter Katie Bo Williams in an interview. Jeffrey added that the real number of U.S. troops in Syria was a lot more than several hundred Trump planned on leaving behind following his abrupt withdrawal announcement in December 2018. Trump's decision to withdraw U.S. forces from Syria led to the resignation of both Defense Secretary James Mattis and Ben McGurk, Jeffrey's predecessor as the leading U.S. envoy to the counter-ISIS effort in Iraq and Syria. End quote. They were running their own war independent of what the elected president both wanted and had ordered. At least they did it to win a battle and maintain stability, not to lose one and unleash chaos. Nothing happened to them, though. Okay, let me get to my question. Where is the court martial? Who went to jail over this? And where are the court martials? Because in order to lie to the commander-in-chief of the United States Armed Forces, it's not just some diplomat who lied. There's no way just a diplomat was the only one lying. Where are the generals going in front of a tribunal? Where are the military people who helped facilitate this lie to a president of the United States? And I don't care a rip what president it was. If this had happened to Joe Biden, I would be asking the same damn question. The president of the United States is the commander-in-chief of the United States Armed Forces, and you lie to the commander-in-chief of the United States Armed Forces as a military or even as a diplomat. A diplomat should be fired, or diplomats, I suppose, could be court-martialed too, right? What happened here? What happened? I don't get it. Now, and then I'm going to continue in this article about, but while Trump reiterated his call to withdraw U.S. forces from northwest Syria ahead of an imminent Turkish invasion in October 2019, Jeffrey told Defense One that, for all intents and purposes, there was never a Syrian withdrawal. When the situation in northeast Syria had been fairly stable after we defeated ISIS, Trump was inclined to pull out, Jeffrey told Defense One. In each case, we decided to come up with 5 better arguments for why we needed to stay, and we succeeded both times. That's the story. Question: why didn't anyone do anything remotely similar for Afghanistan? Not the shell games and the lying to the president part, that's not acceptable, but the part about coming up with a better arguments to convince the president to change course and keep America from a devastating defeat. That is their job. Perhaps they did and were not heard. General Austin Scott Miller was the commander in Afghanistan who drafted the plan to abandon Bagram Air Force Base and concentrate what was left of U.S. forces in Afghanistan on the embassy and the airport. That plan was capped to use only 600 to 700 troops Biden authorized. That clearly was not enough to force to even do that job. Did anyone raise this point? Were they heard and overruled? If so, by whom? Biden had to order another 6,000 to 7,000 combat troops in just to secure the airport long enough to evacuate thousands of civilians stranded there. In short, in the name of withdrawing 2,500 U.S. troops that were deployed to a relatively stable Afghanistan when Biden took the Oval Office, he had to deploy nearly 3 times as many to cover the retreat he ordered, and now Afghanistan is a tinderbox. But I'm still asking. Well, yes, the president is the commander-in-chief, but they were in Syria, not chief. Oh my gosh. And then let's see, MC, I understand your comments, but what is worse is the idea that the State Department has oversight of the military. Oh, yeah, that both of you get this, you get a bell and, the crowd goes, come on, man. The crowd goes wild. There you go. I'm trying to figure what Jamie Lee Curtis is doing that shirt. Anyway, the military high command cannot be so stupid as to have gone along with Biden's plan. General Miller is himself a decorated Delta Force combat veteran who was the ground force commander in the 1993 Black Hawk Down battle in Mogadishu, Somalia. He was also one of the first U.S. military officers engaged in Afghanistan after 9/11. If anyone knew what kind of a disaster Biden's order would lead to, General Miller would. He had been fighting various forms of the Taliban for more than 20 years. He knew Afghanistan as well as any American could. He is also an intellectual on the history of warfare, according to Politico. Quote, Miller is known for a relatively quiet leadership style marked by careful listening rather than the bluster and swagger of some senior officers. He also is famously well read, especially in military history. He'll quote from memory General Ulysses S. Grant's memos to his commanders on the eve of the Battle of Vicksburg, or Henry Kissinger's musings from his memoir ending the Vietnam War. So, General Miller may be one of America's finest officers. He's certainly among our most experienced. He indicated to Politico that he was pessimistic about Afghanistan, where things can turn quickly. It's telling that he departed Afghanistan in July, a week after Bagram closed in the dead of night. He drafted the plan, but was not in country to implement it. That's unusual and suggests a lack of faith in that plan. The entire character of the plan and the fact that there were no orderly unit handoffs in any kind of Afghan military, our allied military in the country after Bagram closed, is highly unusual. The exit from Afghanistan during the fighting season, even as conditions were turning negative very quickly, just to meet an arbitrary deadline, was highly unusual in every regard. Yeah, it almost seems like, imagine if they had just gone by the guy with the funniest hair original deadline instead of trying to make this a Joe Biden win. Didn't want to make it a Trump win. Oh no, we can't make it a Trump win in May when it's not kind of what they call the fighting season in Afghanistan. Oh no, Joe had to move it back to the hottest part of the time when people like to blow shit up and shoot things at you. Just go figure. Anyway, this suggests at a minimum that the State Department, which takes lead on evacuations. Oh, there we go again. Someone who mentioned that about the State Department, MC. That the State Department, which takes lead on evacuations, refused to listen to the Pentagon. Biden and his inner circle backed state over the Pentagon. The Pentagon therefore came up with a plan based on what it was being forced to do. So the commander-in-chief, who's listening to state and not to the Pentagon. But why hasn't anyone in the Pentagon called Secretary of State Anthony Blinken out yet? Why have we not heard from Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin on this? The Trump years were rife with leaks from all over the government. Anytime anyone objected to anything he said or did, he was infamously impeached over a phone call. A military officer originated the complaint that led to the impeachment. It should be able to be a court-martial. Anyway, General Mark Milley proactively endorsed the plan to abandon Bagram in June 2021 and has reactively defended it since. If he or Austin objects or now believes the plan was flawed, it is their duty to speak up, even if that costs them their job. Honor is more important, or was. They have a duty to the country and to the service members under their command and to their families. 13 of them are dead because of this plan, and it's staggeringly poor execution. Is there no one willing to stand up for them? I'm reminded of the film depiction of the Ya Drang Valley engagement in Vietnam in 1965 in We Were Soldiers. After the battle is done, which the Americans won, but at the cost of several soldiers, Lieutenant Colonel Hal Moore, played by Mel Gibson, is asked how he feels about the victory. Guilty, he says. I feel guilty. Why? Because those men died and I didn't, he replied. Where is that spirit today? We have 13 dead in Kabul and no one has stood up for them. Jeffrey Shellgame comments, admitted to hoodwinking the president, but in the name of winning, not losing a battle in November, drew at least one authoritative rebuke. Quote, Jeffrey's comments drew swift condemnation on Twitter from retired Army General Raymond Thomas III, former head of U.S. Special Operations Command. An ambassador nowhere in the chain of command was responsible for playing shell games and hiding troop numbers, Thomas tweeted on Thursday. That's not how it works. Secondly, he thinks we now have a more coherent transactional approach. We've done nothing about the root of the problem, the Assad regime. But that hasn't even turned out to be the bump in his career. Mr. Jeffrey landed well in a cush think tank job. The swamp takes care of its own, and apparently it takes care of literally no one else. If you're not in the swamp club, you don't matter. Hundreds or more Americans remain stranded in Afghanistan thanks to Biden's hasty, humiliating retreat and may never get out alive. None of what we have seen over the past few weeks in Afghanistan is normal or acceptable. None of it. It's kind of wild too. Like I said, is this again state running the president? And he's listening to them more than he's listening to the military commanders? I don't know. It's very unfortunate. Quick good mornings to King on Common Law. Good morning, sir. And also good morning to the gayest person on YouTube. That's a name, not a slight. And in the least, I have great respect for the gayest person on YouTube. Anyway, so just remind everybody, the Morning Night Live is brought to you by you, the viewers of the Morning Night Live. Please hit the like button sometime during the show if you haven't done so already. This is as good as time as any. And share the stream if you haven't done it. Do you ever share the stream? Out of curiosity, have you ever shared the stream? I'm talking to you. You, right there. You know who I'm talking to. Yeah, you can try it one time. Just share the stream and we'll be good, all right? And then also, if you'd like to be a sponsor of the show, you can do that through Streamlabs and or YouTube Super Chats. I will read whatever you give to me. And thanks to the people who are able to do that when they do it. Thank you again, Paul Farrell, for your generous donation this morning. You are the biggest sponsor of the show today. We appreciate you. All right. Let's see. What else do I got here? I was in the middle of JJ Sefton's thing here. So I will go back to this because his intro today is pretty good. So it would be funny if it weren't both enraging as well as frightening, given the consequences of all this, that these are the same people who lied to and committed what can only be described as mutiny against President Trump as commander-in-chief concerning troop levels in Syria. That was noble, you'll see, because Orange Man Bad didn't know what the hell he was doing and was putting American soldiers and civilians in danger, at least in their expert opinion, yet knowing full well that bugging out of Afghanistan at the snap of a kitty diddler's dude stink fingers. I should always read these first. Good morning, Abe Campbell and Willett Forge and Makito Programmer. If you heard that, what I just read, because I kind of flew through it, I don't think I'm going to read it again, but it's pretty damn funny. Who knew it would lead to and did not give... Okay, yeah, knowing full well that bugging out of Afghanistan at the snap of, well, whatever, that was very descriptive time period, would lead to, did not give them pause in the slightest. And we now are learning that the Taliban, dark age fiends that they are, even offered Biden the chance for U.S. forces to actually control all of Kabul and Karzai International until the August 31st deadline, which would have enabled us to get everyone out in an orderly and efficient manner. And he rejected it. Now, I haven't heard this, but it's in the article that I'm about to read to you. At this point, I could not care in the slightest for Biden's dementia. What he has done is a hanging offense, and what the generals did not do in not opposing him is even worse. In a just and sane world, he wouldn't be alone up on the gallows. So, and here, let's see. I'll just read the section he gives you. I'll have the full article in the tab if you want to read it, the front page article. So here's where this comes from. The Taliban may have been testing Biden, wary of a direct military confrontation with a large concentration of American forces. But if so, they quickly learned that they had little to worry about. Instead of maintaining control over Kabul so that the Americans could be speedily evacuated, the Biden junta and its cronies turned over the city to the Taliban. And the Taliban turned to their most professional and deadliest assets. The Haqqani network had been closely allied with al-Qaeda and picked up many of its tricks. Its commanders understood urban warfare, excelled at suicide and truck bombings, and had expert units whose commandos had been trained in Pakistan by the terror regime ISI's secret agents. The Taliban quickly named Khalil al-Rahman Haqqani to head security in Kabul. The Haqqani jihadist figure had a $5 million bounty on his head from the United States. Not long after the Biden junta made its deal with the devil, a designated foreign terrorist group and a specialty designated terrorist controlled access for American refugees fleeing to Kabul's airport. The Biden administration made no protest. It did not complain that a terror group founded by one of Osama bin Laden's mentors, which had repeatedly targeted American soldiers with suicide bomb attacks, including the murder of a colonial... Wait a minute. Did I say good morning to Sydney? I saw Sydney in the chat. Hi, Sydney. I did not mean to miss you there. I just saw that. All right, let me go back to here. The Biden... administration made no protest, did not complain that a terror group founded by one of Osama bin Laden's mentors, which had repeatedly targeted American soldiers with suicide bomb attacks, including the murder of a colonel and 2 lieutenant colonels by a car bomber, a truck bomber that wounded 77 American soldiers in a 9/11 anniversary attack on a base, and a truck bombing attack on another base, was coordinating security from Kabul airport. Things got worse from there. ISIS-K leader Shabab al-Muhajir was a former Haqqani commander. The Islamic State affiliate had recruited heavily among the Taliban, and in particular the Haqqani network. Biden had put America's worst enemies in charge of security around Kabul airport. General Frank McKenzie, who had originally met with Taliban officials to hear their offer to take Kabul, went on bragging that, quote, "We use the Taliban as a tool to protect us as much as possible," end quote. Who was using whom? Because it became obvious when an ISIS-K suicide bomber and gunman who had gotten past the Haqqani checkpoints murdered 13 American military personnel, including 11 of McKenzie's Marines. They did not have to die. And the entire botched evacuation didn't have to play out this way. Democrats made a point of impeaching President Trump twice. In 1787, Senator William Blount became the first politician impeached over a plot to help the British take over Florida and Louisiana. Impeachment in the Constitution begins with treason, continues with bribery, and then finally with high crimes and misdemeanor. Section 3 defines treason only as levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. It's hard to think of a clearer definition of aid and comfort than the massive amount of armaments that the Taliban and its jihadists have picked up in Afghanistan. Biden can claim that all of this was unintentional, but turning over Kabul to the Taliban at a time when thousands of Americans sheltered there was no accident, nor was shrugging when the Taliban handed over access to Kabul airport to the Haqqani network, which is designated as a foreign terrorist organization. These were treasonous acts whose foreseeable consequences are entirely his responsibility. After another 4 or 5 days, Biden hopes that the dead Americans will be forgotten. Biden is counting on Americans to have as bad a memory as he does. And if Republicans remain silent, pivoting to the next scandal or talking point, he will have been proven right. The Americans murdered and betrayed by Biden deserve better justice. They deserve to see the question of his impeachment raised and debated, and America's honor deserves it too. The world must not think that what it saw in Kabul represents a new American normal. That would be devastating to our national security and to our honor. The world must know that what happened was a crime and that Americans will work to hold the criminal accountable. Now, I'm not necessarily convinced that's the answer, or even that's going to happen, because I think the Republicans are scared of the media. But if that was the case, where they just said they're going to give up Kabul, which it seems to be the case, because they only seem to have pseudo control of the airport, not who gets to the airport, but just the airport itself. There's a problem. There's a big problem. Advocate Established. I am all for giving the Taliban AIDS. And what did Biden do as he greeted the coffins of the soldiers he let be slaughtered? Considering how many people believe that Biden has on his hands the bloods of those Americans who died when ISIS-K set off the bomb at Kabul airport, it would have been political suicide had he failed to travel to Dover, Delaware to show his last respect to the troops. Once there, the president's role is limited. It consists of showing respect. That's all that's asked, and Biden couldn't even do that. As this video shows, Biden absolutely checked his watch. It was quick, but it wasn't subtle. And again, it's a case of, yes, he checked it. And I think he immediately saw in his head, as fast as he did it, he saw the bad optics. But before his arm moved, he should have saw the bad optics. So I'm not giving him a pass on it. It was just a tacky freaking move that he should have known better. But again, this is President Puddinhead. Yeah, this isn't dementia. If anything, his dementia is revelatory of what a truly horrid, sick bastard Biden is in the wake of the Trump sham impeachments and the corruption of our law enforcement and intelligence agencies. Fools like Andrew McCarthy and others kept insisting that scum like Strzok and Page were just one-offs and that the rest of the agents were decent, honest, patriotic Americans. Of course they were, since the entire FBI and CIA resigned en masse because of the actions of Brennan and Clapper. Oh, no, they didn't. That's silly. But did you? Yeah, we heard about this guy too. But actually, there is a ray at the light of the abyss. A U.S. Marine Corps veteran who was relieved of his command for chastising his bosses over the botched Afghan withdrawal has decided to call it quits. Oh, I didn't know he called it quits. Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, who came under fire after the bombastic Facebook post last week, said on YouTube Sunday that he is sticking by his guns and resigning his commission, walking away from a $2 million pension after 17 years of military service. I could stay in the Marine Corps for another 3 years, but I don't think that's the path I'm on, Scheller said. I'm resigning my commission as a United States Marine effective now. I am forfeiting retirements, all entitlements. I don't want a single dollar, he said. I don't want any money from the VA. I don't want any VA benefits. I'm sure I'm entitled 100%. The video titled Your Move shows Scheller sitting in front of a chessboard in an abandoned school bus near his home in North Carolina. He said he has been overwhelmed by the show of support. So I'll put that article up too. Think about that. That's a New York Post article. Okay, so this is the guy. He had some choice words for the commanders in the botch. What's going on over there. And in fact, let's see if he, okay, hang on a second. Let me open this one too, so you just have some background on it. So this guy was fired not from the Marines, but fired from his command that he was in for slamming the military over Afghan exit issues. And issued a warning to his superiors. So The Maverick Marine, fired after he released a now viral video slamming the U.S. military for botching the exit from Kabul, issued a clear threat to his aging superiors Saturday. The baby boomer's turn is over, as Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller told the Post. I demand accountability at all levels. If we don't get it, I'm bringing it. He also quoted Thomas Jefferson saying, every generation needs a revolution. Now, so he heavily criticized what's going on in Afghanistan, and they relieved him of his post. I don't necessarily believe that they were wrong in relieving him of his post. This is the military. The military has a very, very strict hierarchy of command, and to publicly do what he did is, is against just how the military code works. From a moral standpoint, good for him. Good for him, and taking it to the level where he's decided to resign. That is, let's put it this way: he resigned, and I think he can speak freely. Okay, and so by him basically giving up all of his commission, his entire retirement, and so forth, whatever I'm trying to say. That tells me that he's not going to stop talking. I know that. But that is appropriate, because he'd probably be dishonorably discharged had he kept it up. Even though what he was saying may perfectly make sense, be perfectly right. But that is something you go through in the military. If you don't go through your chain of command, that's a problem. And so I understand why they did what they did, and I understand why he's doing what he's doing. So anyway, if you want to see that article's up too will be in the tabs at the end of the show. Let's see, what's this say? I say we build a wall around Afghanistan, fill it with seawater, make a nice saltwater lake, and some islands in it. That'd take a lot of water, Wait until a lot of military personnel leave due to they refuse the jab. Ooh, that's going to be interesting too. Will there be a mass exodus from the military? And here's the other part of that though. Will they allow that discharge to be a normal discharge? Or will they be dishonorably discharged? Imagine if some of these people in the military decide that they refuse to take the jab, but let's say they have a couple years left of their commitment. How is the military going to handle that? Are they going to handle it as a dishonorable discharge? I don't know. Anyway, let's see there. I wish they lost 20 months and only die after their organs rot. Okay, I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Scheller could have pushed for a court-martial with the civilian counsel, and the council could release the documents to the public. They could have done that too. So anyway, where we at? 10:15. I was gonna do some COVID news today. I mean, there's a ton of Afghanistan news, and a lot of editorials. I guess I'm gonna skip those. So apparently there's a story about this Capitol officer that shot Ashley Babbitt. Apparently he's out there talking about how he feels like he's a hero for shooting Ashley Babbitt. But he really probably shouldn't have opened his mouth. Here's one on that. So at last he speaks. We now know what has long been an open secret, that it was Lieutenant Michael Byrd of the U.S. Capitol Police who shot and killed Ashley Babbitt on January 6. In his interview with NBC's Lester Holt, Byrd was inconsistent in his grasp of the facts, self-contradictory, and ill-informed on the law governing police use of force. If this is how he performed under Holt's gentle questioning, it's easy to speculate on how he would hold up under cross-examination by a competent and even mildly aggressive attorney, and I'm more confident than ever that the government will settle with Babbitt's family rather than risk a trial featuring Byrd as the key witness. Understand that this was not only Byrd himself who will be accused in the wrongful death suit yet to be filed. His department will also be named when the suit is brought to the jurisdiction the plaintiffs choose. And in speaking with Holt, Byrd exposed some departmental deficiencies a jury may see as having contributed to Babbitt's death. For example, Byrd says his assigned detail, which was dedicated to protecting the House chamber, was operating at about 1/3 of its customary manpower on January 6th, due to COVID protocols and the need to divert officers to the demonstration. Byrd was comfortable with this, he tells Holt, because his department had not received specific intel that would require us to change or adjust our posture. But they kind of did. Anyway, this is not to suggest Byrd himself was responsible for the lack of advanced information or for personnel decisions, but the people above him in his chain of command certainly were. And surely there were those within the pyramid of agencies of the federal security apparatus who knew the crowd would be large and that some people within it were potentially violent. Was this information related to the Capitol Police? And if not, why not? And if so, why wasn't it acted upon? Byrd also spoke of the confusion of his own lack of information in the moments leading up to the shooting. Through his police radio and in emails he received on his phone, he heard the reports that rioters had breached the Capitol and that officers were being injured. Quote, "There was reports of shots fired through the House main door," he says, onto the floor of the chamber. He later learned that report was unfounded, but in that moment, this information understandably affected his thinking. No, and I have no problem with that. Hello, infamous one. The situation was chaotic, surely, and Byrd took appropriate action by using furniture to barricade the doors leading to the Speaker's lobby. He says there were 2 or 3 officers with him at the time, which prompts an important question. Where were those officers when Byrd shot Babbitt? He talks of the information he received via radio and cell phone, but at no time does he mention any directions he gave to subordinates. Byrd is a lieutenant, and presumably there were officers under his command he could have summoned to his aid. If Byrd truly saw himself as the last line of defense between a murderous mob and the senators, congressmen, and staffers gathered in the House chamber, why did he not direct the resources necessary to repel the attack? Oh, he had bars? Oh, I didn't even realize this. Byrd also contradicts himself in the interview, and this contradiction will be damning in the civil action to come. He tells Holt that the people in the House chamber were essentially trapped, which would seem to imply that the doorway to the Speaker's lobby were their only avenues of escape. But later in the interview, he talks about evacuating the House chamber after shooting Babbitt. "I immediately went to try to provide a safe route for an evacuation of the members of Congress," he said, "and advise them which way to go and how to proceed." He will find it difficult to explain this contradiction in a deposition or in front of a jury. Some members of Congress, Byrd says, had limited mobility, and he was worried for their safety because they could not move as quickly as others. Some of those members, he says, were directly in the lobby with me at the time of the incident. Oh, were they? I haven't heard that before. If so, why is this not evident in the only publicly available video of the incident? In that video, available here, I'll put that out there too. There, I'll just put it right over here. Make sure it doesn't play. In that video, at the Washington Post website, only one man can be seen at the far end of the Speaker's lobby at the time Byrd fired the fatal shot, and that man has no readily apparent restrictions on his mobility. As the video shows, a moment before the shooting, 3 uniformed police officers were standing at the doorway to the Speaker's lobby and blocking the rioters from passing. Inexplicably, they moved to the side and allowed the rioters to attack the doors, with one rioter finally breaking the window through which Babbitt would attempt to climb. Byrd says he had no way of communicating with those officers or with the tactical team that arrived seconds later. What was the failure, either by Byrd himself or by members of his department, that prevented him from communicating with these officers who were better situated to assess the threat that Byrd erroneously believed to be so dire? Some of Byrd's statements to Holt are plainly contradicted by the video. Byrd claims he was unable to see what was happening outside the doorway because the windows were blocked by the impromptu barricade he and the other officers had erected. Yet, in the video, shot by one of the rioters. People in the speaker's lobby are plainly visible, so much so that the Washington Post identifies one of them as Representative James McGovern from Massachusetts. Byrd himself can be seen through the window in the moments before and when he fired the fatal shot. How can he now claim he was unable to see through the same window? Byrd also claimed that he was shouting at Babbitt to stop and get back before firing, shouting so loudly, in fact, that his throat was hurting a few days afterwards. Oh, poor child. There's no evidence of any such shouting in the video, though it's possible he was drowned out by shouts from the rioters. Presumably, there is security video from within the speaker's lobby that captured Byrd's warnings, if they, in fact, occurred. Finally, we come to Byrd's explanation for the shooting itself. What made you pull the trigger, Holt asks. Last resort, Byrd replies. I tried to wait as long as I could, but their failure to comply required me to take the appropriate action. Then comes the portion of the interview that surely had the government lawyers gasping in horror. Quote, because the call of shots fired had went out, Byrd says. You know, it was later I found out that the subject did not have a weapon, but there was no way to know that at the time, and I could not fully see her hands or what was in the backpack or what the intentions of. But they had shown violence leading up to that point. Byrd, thus, makes the remarkable admission that he heard vague reports of unknown and undescribed individuals in a large crowd had behaved violently, and that he relied on those reports in deciding to fire on a slightly built woman who was neither armed nor holding anything he might reasonably have mistaken for a weapon. Does it matter, Holt then asks, if a person was armed or not? Quote, according to law, it does not. This is Byrd speaking. And I would let my lawyers speak on that, or the United States Capitol Police General Counsel further to elaborate on that. I know based on my training and my policy, what I did was appropriate. With this, Byrd displays an adequate grasp of the law regarding police use of force. The landmark U.S. Supreme Court case on point is Graham versus Connor from 1989, which held that any force used by police must be judged by a standard of objective reasonableness. Byrd's judgment at the time he fired was that if he failed to do so, the mob would overrun the House chamber or do harm to people inside. But note that the reasonableness test, easy for me to say, in Graham demands that an officer using deadly force must have a reasonable belief the suspect poses an immediate threat to the safety of the officers or others. By his own admission, there were avenues of escape available to those in the House chamber, avenues Byrd himself guided them through after shooting Babbitt. Once more, there was one other person visible in the speaker's lobby at the time Byrd shot Babbitt, and that man was at least 50 feet away from the doors where the rioters had gathered. How did the unarmed Babbitt pose an immediate threat to this man, to anyone in the House chamber, or to Byrd himself? Yes, Byrd's intentions were good, but as Chief Judge Justice Rehnquist wrote for the majority in Graham, quote, an officer's evil intention will not make a Fourth Amendment violation out of an objectively reasonable use of force, nor will an officer's good intention make an objectively reasonable use of force constitutional. Good intentions do not make reasonable force constitutional. Just let you simmer on that for a second. In the NBC interview, Byrd presented himself as conscientious and well-meaning, but most police officers can readily recognize him for what he is, a long-serving middle manager with modest abilities, one who should be nowhere near any situation requiring split-second life-and-death decisions. It was a bad shooting, and no amount of spin can make it otherwise. Babbitt's family will prevail in their civil suit, and they should. So, and I'll just give that a bell because that's a pretty good one there. Now that was, now what did I really, that wasn't even the one I wanted to talk about. But let's go back to this guy though, because this is fascinating. So, and here's a little bit about our hero, quote unquote. or at least he called himself a hero. This is the same guy that got in trouble for leaving his gun unattended in a bathroom in 2019. Now, it's funny that it happens. I remember this, okay? It was just a couple years ago, and Michael Byrd, the U.S. Capitol Police Lieutenant who shot and killed Ashley Babbitt during a January 6th Capitol riot, is the same officer who left his gun unattended in a Capitol bathroom in 2019. Capitol Police found Byrd's Glock 22 in a Capitol Visitor Center complex bathroom in February 2019 during a routine security sweep. At the time, Byrd was a Capitol Police commander of the House Chamber and was scheduled for work the next 2 days after the incident. The police department launched an investigation into Byrd's negligence, but he was eventually allowed to stay on the force. Now, oh my God. You would think that would be a reason to be instantly fired from being any sort of law enforcement officer, but maybe not. Or at least, I don't know. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Did he even bring it up? In an exclusive interview with Byrd, NBC's Lester Holt asked the officer about the investigation and how it's been brought up by those who are questioning your competency. So is this a Republicans pounce moment? I don't know. Do you want to respond to that? Holt asked. It was a terrible mistake. I acknowledged it. I owned it, and I accepted responsibility. I was penalized for it, and I moved on, Byrd said before Holt cut to another topic. Okay, that's fair. That's a fair answer from him. It was a mistake. I acknowledged it. I owned up to it. I accepted my responsibility. I was penalized for it, and I moved on. Anyway, while Byrd claims he showed utmost courage and saved countless lives on January 6th, which he didn't save any lives on January 6th, if you ask me. He just, anyway. And let's see. And after taking out Babbitt, whom he said posed a threat, the legal team representing the late Babbitt family said she was not brandishing a weapon, not in close proximity to the members of Congress, and was not an imminent threat of death or serious injury to anyone. So apparently they have read Judge Rehnquist's opinion. Byrd acknowledged that she wasn't armed, but said it didn't change his confidence in drawing and firing his gun. Capitol Police recently announced that it found Byrd's action to be lawful and unworthy of pursuing any other action against. This decision came shortly after the Department of Justice chose not to charge Byrd, who was referred to at the time as an unnamed police officer. So anyway, there's your update on that situation. And on that note, it is the time when I normally shut down the show, or I normally attempt to shut down the show. Today I am going to shut it down. But before I go, I don't know why I do this. I always check just to see if there's any breaking news on Twitter. By the way, thank you to Will It Forge, Mitch the Ripper, Tyler F, MC, and Renee Mayette for retweeting the show out this morning. Also, Scribe Light for tweeting out this morning too. I didn't see Scribe here this morning, but I do appreciate that. By the way, go watch Scribe's last video from Sunday. He does these videos on. I need to switch this over. He does these videos on the diversity projects, the diversity, equity, inclusion officers of these different companies, and this one company explaining how they are trying to, increase diversity and equity. And remember, when I say equity, whenever you say any of the word equity, what do I say to do? You run. Whenever you hear the word equity, run. It's just affirmative action on steroids, and maybe even Quaaludes. But anyway, it's a great video. I thoroughly enjoyed it while I was driving on, was it Saturday or Sunday? It was Sunday when I was driving home from the great lake area of Wisconsin. So anyway, is there anything breaking news? Okay, Ida downgraded to tropical storm after knocking out power in New Orleans. Just real quick, just checking, make sure there's not anything breaking other than that. Oh, so hey, remember, okay, there's this, this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. So Biden, apparently kind of dozed off during a meeting with the Prime Minister of Israel, right? And now I'm looking on Twitter, and of course, no matter what it is, they're going to give cover to Joe Biden. But they are saying that a video of Biden meeting with Israeli Prime Minister is misleadingly cropped. Fact checkers and journalists say, oh, so Democrats. So Reuters, a CNN fact checker and journalist, says a viral video of a meeting between U.S. President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett at the White House has been cropped and is misleading. The original footage shows Biden talking and responding to Bennett only seconds later. The meeting marked Joe Biden and Naftali first meeting since Israeli Prime Minister assumed office in June. Well, okay, so let's see. This guy saying that Biden asleep stuff is nonsense. Full video. Okay, I'm gonna watch this video later. Apparently the full video of the meeting's here, and I'm not gonna let it play, so give me a second here.
Our ancient land and rebuild it.
Okay, so let's see here. The original video is Biden talking, Biden looking at Bennett, Biden looking downward, his hands moving, starting right when Bennett mentioned this week's difficult days, Biden immediately replying to Bennett. Okay, this one says, this is false. Anyone who actually watches this angle of the Biden-Bennett meeting in high resolution can see that Biden simply shifts this position at 12:08, continues to move his fingers, and then immediately responds to Bennett at 12:42. So, okay, here's the clip that they're talking about.
Yet another chapter in the beautiful story of the friendship between our two nations, the United States of America and the Jewish and democratic state of Israel. Both of us who seek to do good and need to be strong, both of us who are yet another chapter.
Okay, so wait a minute. You're saying that he's just fully in it right here because he twitches his fingers. Now, this guy's arguing. Here's the argument. This is false. Anyone who actually watches this angle of the Bennett-Biden meeting in high resolution can see that Biden simply shifts into this position at 12:08, continues moving his fingers, and then immediately responds to Bennett at 12:42. So has anyone ever dozed off for 10 to 15 seconds before? Or closed their eyes and seemed to be not paying attention for 10 to 15 seconds? It may be true. Okay, so wait a minute. All right, let's look at this thread. I wasn't going to go into this, but because I didn't care. I don't care. Oh my God, this guy's just listen to this. Okay, let's listen to this guy's argument. So he says that simply shifts the position, 12:08, continues to move his fingers, and immediately responds to Bennett at 12:42. Which will, okay, let's find that. 12, let's see. 12, let's go to 12:08. Let's see here. 12:08. Let's find it. 12, is this? Well, there is no 12:08 on this one. Okay, that's not even the full video. So whoever put that up as the full video is full of shit. Anyway, not only was Biden with it, if you watch to the end when he talks right after he's supposedly sleeping, he gets in a clever little dig saying, "You thank me for ensuring Israel's security. You should thank Obama," which Bennett then does. What? What? There's a president in between there, but anyway, now listen to this. This might be the dumbest argument of this whole thing. You'd think people would have learned this after Biden won by 7 million votes, but you aren't going to beat Biden by lying to yourself about him and his capabilities. That might help you get retweets from people in your bubble, but it won't actually help you win votes outside it. Yeah, sir. Young man. The president of the United States is doing great work on his own for people to lose confidence in him. Doesn't matter if he did win by 7 million votes. Honk, honk. God. what's really going on here is that Biden has a perfectly positive meeting with the Israeli prime minister, which frustrate Trumpkin attempts to paint Biden as anti-Israel. Since they have no substantive dispute with him here, they fabricated stuff. No. Biden is just as pro-Israel as the last few presidents. I don't think anyone has any doubt about that. I don't think anybody cares. Okay, we're more worried about the competence of President Sundowner. Okay, and that's all there is to it. Okay, because I'm sure you think Afghanistan is going swimmingly. Good luck to you, sir. All right, enough of this crap. I'm sorry, but those 20 seconds. I mean, and again. So the guy says, Biden appears to have fallen asleep during a meeting with Prime Minister of Israel. And that's the part of the clip.
Yet another chapter in the beautiful story of the friendship between our two
whether
nations,
he did or not,
and the Jewish,
it appears that, because notice, when this guy's looking at him, look at, let's go from this. And again, this is a tiny little clip, and it doesn't tell you anything. Maybe he was just listening and had his eyes closed. But look how the prime minister reacts to where Biden is doing right now. He stops looking at him and looks at the camera like, well, I'm gonna continue talking to the people who are supposed to be listening to this, and maybe he's listening too. And if he answered at the same, immediately after the gentleman stopped talking, well, good for him. Maybe he did just have his eyes closed. Is that a good look at any moment in the time he's talking to this man? Whether his fingers move or not, it's not a good look. Sorry. Here it is again.
Yet another chapter in the beautiful story of the friendship between our two nations, the United States of America,
and
the Jewish,
this guy's not listening to me.
Democratic State of Israel.
Now, if he immediately said something after this clip,
seek to do
good for him.
To be strong.
Because now he's talking to him. He's not talking to Biden.
Yet another chapter.
Okay, now I'm gonna have to go. I am gonna watch the clip if that section's in that, because again, Rupar gives you, he doesn't give you the full meeting either, and I don't know if I can find it here. Maybe I can find it. Let's see if we can find where Biden's. Let's see if we can find where Biden's hands go down. Is it in here? Let's see. Not here. This guy's not even showing that section. That's not in here. Oh, there it is right here. Let's go right here. Let's see if this is it. Let's try it from this angle.
Ancient Jewish prophecy is today's Israel reality. And it's a miracle that you've been so central and so...
This is not the same section, though.
For so many years. So, Mr. President, today, you and I, and you've been so generous with your time in these difficult days.
There's his eyes. His head goes down.
Another chapter in the beautiful story of the friendship between our two nations, the United States of America and the Jewish and Democratic State of Israel. Both of us who seek to do good and need to be strong. Both of us who are a lighthouse in a very, very...
Is he just looking? He might just be looking down.
Thank you, Mr. President. I look forward to working with you now and for many years forward. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And
okay, so his eyes are down, but hard to tell. It's such a minor thing, and if they're making a mountain out of a molehill, but his eyes kind of go closed, and so the prime minister stops looking at him because Biden's not looking at him. So why is again, this is one of those things when you're having a session like this. This is everything is optics on some of these things, and if you do not look engaged with the person who's talking to you, it's not a good look, even if he's not asleep. He's looking, it almost looks like he closes his eyes and the prime minister's talking, looking at him, and he's not looking at him. So the prime minister adeptly directs it to the press who is watching and talks to them. So I don't know. I don't know if he fell asleep or not, but it sure looks like it. But whatever. Yeah, it looks like he's nodding off, but then he you know, and if you ever look, I'm going to admit this, and Lady Boomer will attest to this. There have been times when I'm barely tired and Lady Boomer's talking to me, and I go into that same position and I close my eyes and I'm listening and I can hear everything she's saying, but I know that I'm nodding off. And I can usually tell when she's just about done talking because I can open my eyes just in time to answer. I may not have actually known what she said, but I answer. And so anyway, and I know men who have been married, you've all been there. It's kind of like, what's that? It happened in the movie White Chicks. Anyway, all right, that's enough of that. Anyway, gang, that's it for today because it's beyond time for me to go. Thank you for all hanging on for that extra few minutes after I said I might be leaving. And also, before you go, if you haven't done so, do that like button thing and share. And thank you for the people who've been sponsors of the show over the last year, and actually during the time that we've been doing this show, particularly today, Paul Farrell for the very generous donation. And if you're watching on replay, just let me know you're here. Put a hi in the comment section so I know you dropped by. Thanks for those of you who are starting to do that on the regular. I always like to know who watches on replay, so it appreciate it. In fact, here, you can answer your question. Here's the question of the day if you're in the comment section. Do you think the president dozed off there or not? It's hard to tell. You can watch the video. It'll be in the link in the description down below where I put all the news articles we went through today and in the one tab. And that's it, people. So, again, thanks so much for being here, everybody. But it's time for me to call it a day. I'll be back tomorrow at, I don't know what time I'll be here tomorrow. Well, watch my Twitter or any other social media or just look at the notifications for the show. Because I don't know what time Lady Boomer has to be to work tomorrow. So we're still working with one vehicle, hopefully for only one more week, though. So I gotta go. My name's PDawgKnight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye.
Hey, this is PDawgKnight, and thank you for watching today on the PDawgKnight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cashapp, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm PDawgKnight, and I'm out of here.